W. All right. We are back. Technical difficulties averted. Thank the Lord. It is only, 21 minutes that took? I had you guys muted, so couldn't hear you.
No, it was longer than that because we've been on earlier than our initial start time.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. That's very fair. But it's our first stream back in how long did you say, Matthew?
April 19th,
April 19th.
2021.
How about it? So, welcome the fuck back. We're excited to be here.
Let's go, baby.
Honestly, we're pumped. There's a lot that has happened in the last 8 months. Tons, honestly. So we're ready to get this rolling again, and we're excited to be streaming, get the podcast rolling, and just continue to talk about gaming because that's what we love here. So you'll notice if you're seeing the video on YouTube that we're no longer on Twitch. So live stream on YouTube now. You can find us at the Joystick Chronicles on YouTube. So make sure to subscribe to us. We need to hit 100 subscribers before we can actually have a custom link. So that's the goal right now. So tell all your friends, subscribe to the channel, and let's make that happen. It'll be easier to get the link out and to get the show out. So you'll also notice that we do have a guest here. So first ever guest on the Joystick Chronicles podcast is our good friend, Matt Jordan. Matt is a lifelong gamer. He's currently a dad gamer, as he pointed out to us about 10 minutes ago. And we're happy to have him because, we've been gaming together for how long? Like 2 years now? Something like that?
Just under 2 years, probably.
Just under 2 years. So this is, for me at least, this is the quintessential gaming story of you meet somebody in a game way before you actually get to meet them in person. And it was over a year before we finally met in person.
Yep.
And
can I give a little more backstory?
Yeah, let's do it.
Back it up.
A little more backstory would be that Matt and I were coworkers and still are coworkers. More to update on that front. But yeah, no, so I introduced Matt to our group of gaming buddies, which included, I don't know how we started. I don't know if it was Warzone or do you remember, Matt?
I think it was Warzone.
I think it was Warzone. Yeah, it was.
Because it was right after we stopped playing Fortnite, got into Warzone, and then that's when I met Matt, at least.
We were playing Apex, Matt, and some people were still playing Fortnite, and then Call of Duty dropped, Warzone dropped, and then that was our focus for the next year at least.
Yeah.
And still is.
And so now it's kind of turned into like us three and our other buddy Joe, who maybe we'll have on at some point too if he wants to come on. But like, I think what the cool part of that story, something Kevin alluded to, is just that like we became really close through Xbox, and now like we're all going to Joe's wedding.
Yeah, we've already been to your wedding.
Yeah, Matt met all of Joe and Kevin through Xbox, and we played all the time, and that turned into us going to each other's weddings.
Yeah. So, not to mention Joe's wedding is going to be in Mexico, so that's fun.
I really kind of downplayed it, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's a big commitment.
Yeah.
Video games can take you far.
They really can, to different countries. I was going to say continents, but that's just not accurate. So countries, we'll go with that. All right, I want to kick this off real quick. Just Matt, obviously this is your first time on the show, and we're happy to have you. So let's get a little background on yourself. What got you into gaming? What games are you playing? Console versus PC. Give us the rundown here.
So I'm still a console boy. I started out, I think the first console that I had was the Sega Genesis, and I had Sonic the Hedgehog, and I loved that, and then kind of moved into the Super Nintendo realm and got acclimated with Kirby and Mario and games like that. And then N64 came out at the right time. That led to Super Smash Brothers and all the gaming battles that go with that, and kind of worked my way up. Had the original PlayStation, the gray one, and then I had the PlayStation 1, the small one that I traveled with, and then had the choice to go to Xbox or PS2. I went to Xbox, and I've been a Xbox console guy ever since. So grew up loving Halo, played all of the Call of Duties. I love all the Assassin's Creeds, so big role play guy as well.
Oh yeah,
first person shooters, role play, you name it, I'm in it. So get love to meet all my friends when I play online. It's kind of a way to reconnect whenever we don't live close to each other. But tons of good things come with gaming, and just love the content and the time spent on the box, boys.
Hey, I want to point something out too, because we had another discussion on a different podcast about just like Xbox versus PlayStation, and I'd argue almost like, obviously we're going more toward crossplay, but like, I don't know if we would have played with you, Matt. I mean, it's just like, we're so used to just playing with the Xbox boys. All of us were Xbox before Kevin and I switched to
Hmm.
PC, and
Yep.
now Joe switched to PC. So who knows? I mean, I guess now it would have been a lot more likely, but back in the day when you're an Xbox
Sure.
boy, you're a PlayStation boy, just
And
didn't play
I
there.
hate to be the PlayStation slander guy, but I think the thing that sold me early on was the Xbox community,
Yeah.
the Xbox Live parties. PlayStation, while it was free or it ended up being free, they didn't quite have the following or the amount of people playing online that Xbox had. So those Halo 2
Oh yeah.
multiplayer, those lobbies, they got pretty hectic, and being able to
Love
hop online
Halo.
with your buddies. I don't think Halo quite, or PlayStation rather, didn't quite have that. Obviously, they have some great titles, Uncharted and Spider-Man and things like that that are God of War,
Hmm.
that are Sony specific. But man, Halo, being Xbox specific, was the deal breaker for me. And
Yeah,
so
me too.
That's
couldn't pass up that.
I've said it before. Halo is the reason why I got an Xbox 360. Yeah,
Yep.
hands down. And
It
and
was for me too.
and that, I mean, that's for a lot of people. Just having the Halo title on Xbox brought so many people to the console and into just to the Xbox community, which will really kind of transition us into our topic of the day, which is Microsoft purchasing Activision Blizzard for almost $70 billion, which is just
Massive.
it's nuts. I mean, you think about how much money that is, and I was typing just to even to you guys this morning about when the news broke, and I accidentally typed millions because that's just like, when do you ever talk about that much money and you're talking about $70 billion? So it's almost just like second nature for me just to throw in the M. But I was like, oh no, that's a B actually. Never mind.
Very
So
big difference there.
yeah, huge difference, and it's a huge acquisition, and it really just shakes up the gaming world for us. And I think it's a great thing. There's a lot of a lot of pieces to this that we can kind of peel back and get into. But Matt Lyon, I'm curious to hear from you just what your initial thoughts are when you heard the news this morning about what does this mean for not necessarily even just Call of Duty and Warzone, which is something that we obviously play quite a bit here, but just gaming in general and just the ecosystem of Xbox versus PlayStation and all that.
I think when I'm literally just pulling up an article right now, and you sent us a tweet. Okay, so what I wanted to point out is that you have Infinity Ward, Treyarch, Sledgehammer Games, Raven Software, Toys. I don't know, Toys for Bob, Beanox, Demonware. I recognize Demonware. High Moon Studios. Those are all gonna fall under Xbox first party studios once that deal closes, which is nuts.
Yeah,
Uh, I was
and
reading this
I
other
can pull this
article.
up right here just so you can see. There's on this list. There's 32 studios that Xbox now owns, which
So
is
That's insane.
nuts.
I'm reading right now, and I didn't even realize this, but obviously, like Call of Duty falls under that, but World of Warcraft and Diablo also fall under that.
Yeah, those are
That's
Also,
Blizzard
nuts.
titles.
Overwatch.
Those
Yeah,
are all
Overwatch as well.
timers.
yeah,
Overwatch and even the mobile gaming, Candy Crush. I had no idea
Yeah.
Candy Crush was owned by them. I mean, it just
yeah.
really covers all facets of gaming.
I mean,
Massive acquisition.
the Activision Blizzard acquired King, which is Candy Crush. That's the mobile game. Is King.
Yeah.
They acquired them. What was that, like 4 weeks ago? Maybe even 3 weeks ago. That was
I
super
didn't
recent.
realize that.
Yeah. So they acquired them. That's where I think the Toys for Bob, definitely King, on that list that we're looking at. I think those are the only two that are mobile specific. But that's where that comes into play. And
Yep.
I mean, and then you get Bethesda, which I mean,
Yeah.
that was obviously a huge acquisition in and of itself, which was a few months ago. But the titles that carries along with that, and then the existing just Xbox game studios. I mean, obviously Halo is the big one there, but it's definitely not alone. And what's interesting too, out of the news that came out today, I saw that now Crash Bandicoot and Spyro both
I love
are
it.
owned by Xbox and Microsoft. And those are two quintessential characters in the PlayStation ecosystem growing up.
Oh yeah, I didn't even know that.
Yeah. So
Total recognizable.
so
Can't miss
now Xbox owns those titles and those characters essentially, which for the longest time, really forever, has been a PlayStation thing. And you think about those and that like you associate that with PlayStation. So this whole thing in this acquisition, I continue to go back to, how does this put Xbox ahead of PlayStation, or what does this mean for the I guess rivalry for lack of better terms, um, and what does it mean going forward?
I think it gets them closer than they ever have been before to Sony.
Mhm.
Obviously, we can argue over content, but numbers talk, and Sony has sold more PlayStations than Xbox in their lifespan. And this article that I pulled up, it says this will be. Or their Microsoft's push into gaming, this will make them their third largest gaming company by revenue, behind Tencent and Sony, once the deal closes.
It's nuts.
So
It doesn't even feel like it feels like Microsoft should be closer though.
it should, but and like that's what I'm saying in terms of content put out, and people's thoughts around Xbox. You think it'd be? I mean, those are the two debates right there. LeBron and Michael Jordan, Sony or PlayStation and Xbox. But
Yeah.
in terms of revenue, they will now be third after this acquisition. And I didn't realize Tencent was that high up in terms
Mhm.
of revenue, but. I mean, just a massive acquisition from a revenue standpoint, from a gaming franchise standpoint. So tons to talk about here.
I think there's yeah, I mean there's so much we could get into of, I mean, what does this mean for the CDL? Just seeing how the CDL really in recent months is just kind of in shambles. There's a lot of criticism around them, um,
Mm.
being compared to how the HCS, the Halo Championship Series, has handled the start of their kickoff season. And you think Halo launches with a full ranked system at game launch, and a week after the game launches, HCS is up and running with, I mean, the viewership for that was insane. I don't remember the exact numbers off the top of my head, but they had a LAN tournament and they were ready to rock. And the CDL now is, when did Vanguard come out? In November. So we're now just about 2 months past the release of Call of Duty Vanguard. We still don't have CDL League coming, or the CDL season really here yet. There's a tournament coming, I think in 2 weeks now is the first kickoff. But that doesn't even mean anything. That's not a major. It's just essentially a meaningless event. It will be LAN, which is good, but it's been mismanaged. I think the biggest news, at least for today, from CDL wise, Merc and Maven, who are the two main casters, or at least have always been the two main casters, still have no idea if they're going to be involved with the CDL this year, and we're a week and a half out from the first event. So I think it's just
That's crazy.
it's complete neglect from Activision for the CDL. So what's interesting is, at least after this acquisition goes through, will the CDL kind of be revived here and be treated like the HCS and actually have the backing of Xbox and Microsoft and all of the assets that come along there, and they can follow the structure of Halo and bring that to the CDL. So I think this could be a really, really good thing for competitive Call of Duty.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's just no way of knowing. We'll see, I guess.
I want to make a point there too. Did you see that Activision Blizzard CEO is probably not staying when the merger goes through?
Yeah, so there's there's like I said, there's so much that we can cover with this. So going into that, it's interesting because there's a lot obviously that's been going on with Activision and just the way that their company culture is, and a lot of sexual misconduct allegations. And I saw a number that I think there was over 700 total sexual misconduct complaints filed at Activision, and I don't know what the time frame was of that, but that is a very real, very important topic that needs to not go unnoticed. I sent a tweet out earlier, and there's somebody tweeting about how it's like, the merger's great and this is all awesome for gaming, but what does this mean for Activision and the employees who work there, and what changes are coming for them out of this? And I said, it's like, this needs to be talked about more. So I think we can really hammer this home of a better workplace environment will
Yeah.
provide a more efficient and more productive studio and a publisher. And I think this could really be a very good thing just for Activision in and of itself. And Bobby Kotick, who's the CEO, he's been there for 30 plus years. I think he's a big problem, and a lot of people don't like him for various, and I would probably say good reasons.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm happy to see personally that the rumor is he will not be there as CEO once this merger goes through.
I think something to add to would just be that I mean, there's going to be an adjustment period, obviously, because you're going to have, especially if the CDL's a week and a half out.
Yeah, I mean, nothing's going to happen this year for that. I mean, keep in mind too that this acquisition is all pending approvals, all of that, and still it's not expected to get done until June of 2023. So we still have a year and a half before we really even see any of this happen.
But they will have the backing of an absolutely massive company in Microsoft.
Absolutely.
And if you look, I just was curious because I looked at jobs at Microsoft, and it has a 91% recommend to a friend and a 97% approval of CEO.
Yeah.
I think they're probably not going to stand for that shit.
No, not at all. It's going to, there's, I think very good changes are coming. And with the announcement this morning, Phil Spencer, who's been the head of Xbox he's been at Microsoft for 30 years as well. He has been the head of Xbox for, I don't know, I think at least 11 years now. But it was announced today that he is now the CEO of Microsoft Gaming. So they've essentially created their own kind of pseudo company within Microsoft. So they've got their own division that he is now
it's an umbrella, and everything's going to fall under
he
him.
is in charge of. And then he has his own, obviously, team of executives that report to him. And what I think is just a very, very small point that I think a lot of people will glance over. But looking at the headshots of all of those executives, there were 6 women, 5 men, and multiple people of color. It's a very diverse team. I think it's a very good thing for this to come to Activision at this point in time, just with all of the issues that they've been facing. And I really do think that Microsoft will get them in the right direction.
Yep. One can argue that the neglect you mentioned earlier with the CDL, whenever you're facing these lawsuits, it kind of creates a distraction within the company.
Oh, yeah.
It's hard to get things done and do what you're meant to do or what the company was designed to do. They did reach an $18 million settlement with the U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission in September.
Yeah.
So I think that kind of allowed them to get through the door in terms of this acquisition, because had it not been settled or in the process of being settled, I don't know if Microsoft would have touched Activision with a 10-foot pole, at the time. So it's nice to see that they're kind of are getting through this, and there is a light at the end of the tunnel. 40 Activision Blizzard employees reportedly exited the company since last July. So I think the writing's on the wall for a lot of the offenders, and obviously some of the victims have left already. So I think you guys are totally right. I think Microsoft's going to come in and kind of clean house and get this ship and this train going back in the right direction.
Yeah, I completely agree. And one thing that I also did read was that it was reported that Phil Spencer and the CEO of Microsoft, I'm blanking on his name right now, it was reported that they actually approached Activision in November about a merger. And to think that something of this size got done in 2 months, that is just mind-blowing in and of itself. But Phil, I think I saw this on Twitter. It was reported of him saying that, they're not moving forward with anything unless Activision is able to kind of get their own house in order and make progress in fixing all of these issues that have come up and are now being brought to light, which thank God, because it all needs to be addressed. And
What a mess.
I think just for the fact that this acquisition is actually happening, or at least it was announced that it's happening. Obviously, everything still has to go through. But that is just a good sign for better things to come for Activision.
Yep.
Totally agree.
I don't have anything else to add on that, to be honest.
Let's talk about what this means for the whole Xbox versus PlayStation debate. Obviously, Matt, you mentioned that Sony is still the leader in revenue. This will bring Microsoft up to number 3, get them closer there. So, I don't think they're done. I think they're going to continue to grow this and really push Game Pass, which we've talked about before. I think Game Pass is now, if not the best value, it is one of the best values in gaming for that subscription model. And let's talk about just really like what this means for one, Game Pass, and how that will help them to compete against PlayStation and Sony.
I think talk about growth for the industry. I think this is a good step forward because obviously you have a massive corporation in Microsoft getting behind gaming and really trying to push, putting one of their top people in charge of the great studios at Xbox or at Microsoft, which is awesome. I think for Game Pass, I don't know, Kevin, you might know more than me, but I don't really. What does PlayStation have? They have PSN, right?
Yeah, they have the PlayStation Network, which is it's the exact same as Xbox Live essentially. They don't have a specific
Game Pass competitor.
No, there's no game streaming service that they have. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Sony make some sort of move to try and either create something like that, or I mean, does Sony go after Steam? Try and get something like that.
Yeah,
I think that's huge. I mean, the direction that Xbox is heading right now, just with all of the games that they're adding to Game Pass or will be adding to Game Pass, and it hasn't been officially announced yet, but I mean, one can assume that all of the Call of Duty titles moving forward will be on Game Pass. Diablo, Overwatch, World of Warcraft, all of that will be on Game Pass, which is just, I mean, that's awesome. I can get rid of BattleNet on my computer and just go through Game Pass.
I think
Pumped
they already
about
added
that.
some Bethesda. I think they already added some Bethesda games on Game Pass.
Yep. Yeah. Those titles are in there.
The value of Game Pass is just going through the roof. I mean, that's what you want in a subscription service. You don't want to pay $5 or $10 a month for something that doesn't have very many games. What's the point? But when they acquire these franchises and start adding these games, Microsoft has the potential to take over very quickly if they start racking up subscriptions.
There's two parts to that. One is a subscription base rather than charging $60 for one game. I mean, you might get the add-ons, but all of those games also include microtransactions now too. So you're getting constant monthly subscription plus microtransactions. And then the other part that I just Googled, but talk about Discord. Microsoft owns Discord now too.
No, they don't.
Community. Yeah, they do.
No, that didn't go through. That never actually happened. No, we had talked about that. Yeah, we had talked about that they were going to, but they ended up never actually purchasing Discord. So Discord still is its own company.
It's independent.
Yeah. But I mean, there were discussions about it, and then.
But if they did, I just think that's a whole you're creating the entire environment. You're creating the whole picture from top to the bottom, all of the communication and everything that's involved, plus an amazing offering with the Game Pass, having all the games, having all the communication. You already have Xbox Live has been around for a long time. They've figured that shit out. They have a really strong community around it. So it's crazy. I mean, they're just continuing to get better.
Yeah. But one of the things that just, if you're not familiar with Game Pass, it essentially became a meme at E3 earlier in 2021. And because Phil Spencer was up on stage announcing all the games, and every single game that he mentioned, he said available day one on Xbox Game Pass. And it was, I think they announced maybe 20 titles at E3, every single one of them on Game Pass. And that will now continue with everything that Activision has, that already started with everything that Bethesda had. So it's like the value for Game Pass is, like I said, through the roof. So what is Sony going to do about that? No one knows. I think something will probably come. But I think the Discord note is interesting. I was pumped. I mean, we talked about it on the podcast last year.
Yeah.
I was pumped for those rumors, and I really wanted it to happen. The only issue there is that, you know, there really is no dedicated communication server, I guess, for people on console. And I think as we move towards, you know, the crossplay and all of that, it's how can we get not necessarily just the people on PC and console talking to each other, but how can we have somebody who's on PlayStation talking to somebody who's on Xbox? And, you know, I think going back to Phil Spencer, I mean, he's already said publicly, I think he said this last week, that he wants to develop some sort of ban system in gaming that is multi-dimensional and goes across all of the different ecosystems. So if you're on PC and you get banned for cheating, then your account on Xbox and PlayStation gets banned as well. And I thought when he said that, I never really even thought of that, because we're not really thinking the way of just having a cohesive ecosystem. And there, I think, is so much there, which, I mean, that may be a way forward with the metaverse, which we can get into as well. But where we're at right now, there's a lot there. But where we're at now with having, you know, two main consoles, having PC, if we can get some sort of communication system between all of that, it's a huge step in the right direction, just for gaming in general. And I think the executives at these companies are now realizing that it's not necessarily just the race between these companies. It's more about the community and the gamers and the consumers and all that. And if you have a more cohesive community and consumers, then, you know, in theory, you're gonna make more money. You're gonna have more sales. You want happy customers. So, you know, listening to feedback is a big thing, and that's something that traditionally, just from the Call of Duty experience in that community, Activision has never really been good at listening to feedback. And, you know, it's their own game, and, you know, they handle everything on their own. But I think that Microsoft will bring some positivity there.
I think you hit on something too, because you talked about banning. Like, think of what that means for the anti-cheat.
You just drop the ban hammer on them, and
like, I'm so curious what that's gonna mean, because I mean, if Microsoft is taking over, they have the resources to, like, we already thought Activision and Blizzard was big enough that they should be able to provide a comprehensive and good anti-cheat, and that just like still hasn't been true. But now,
I mean,
please give me like Windows 11 on or whatever. Like, give me a
Windows 10 Defender. Now, if it has any sort of recollection of any sort of kernel or any cheats present, then it's just bricks your computer, which sore subject for my guy, the guy to my left right now. But what's interesting that you bring up is the anti-cheat, and I think, you know, there has definitely been a lot of progress made there. And just going off on a tangent real quick, because I saw something funny today, is that the anti-cheat is active and supposedly it's working. But what the Ricochet anti-cheat now has done is that if there's a cheater or somebody suspected of cheating, the bullet reg is essentially gone. So they're shooting blanks.
It doesn't register.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's hilarious.
So Ricochet and Activision, or whichever studio is managing Ricochet, is essentially just clowning with these cheaters, which is hilarious. Yeah, I think that's what it was.
Oh my god!
And I can pull it up actually. But Joe tweeted about it, and he was getting hit. Like it for him, it felt like he was taking damage. It was giving him the hit marker scan on like his visual cues on the screen and all that, but his health bar wasn't moving at all. And he turns around and just absolutely shred this guy. So I can pull it up here as an example. But it's so funny just just how they're actually now doing something about this. Which, I mean, for what, an entire year, essentially last year, we were
At least.
begging for this. And, it's
Yeah.
gotten a lot better,
Yep.
definitely. But I think there's still some progress to be made, which Microsoft will help.
Yep.
So little tangent, but
Oh, you're good.
I think that's hilarious.
I
So
think anti-cheat is very important. I just love that Microsoft is bridging the gap with console and PC players.
yep,
In the past, it always was Sony, PlayStation, PC, Xbox,
yeah,
and other than crossplay, the platforms didn't really talk to each other, didn't really have much to do with each other, and the bridging of the gap between Microsoft PC players and Xbox players, I think, is huge. They're really bolstering this community. And here's a quote from that article again from Microsoft CEO. It's a little sappy, but I really do think it's going to be a better future for gamers in general. It says we're invested deeply in world-class content, community, and the cloud to usher in a new era of gaming that puts players and creators first and makes gaming safe, inclusive, and accessible to all. So I think that's pretty relevant to anti-cheat.
hmm
We want everybody to be able to play this game and have fun in a safe environment, and everyone to enjoy it. And so the cheaters of the world, the people that aren't bridging the gap, PlayStation may, like you said, buy Steam or what have you, but Microsoft is going at some extreme lengths to kind of bolster this community right now with console players and PC players, and I applaud them for it. I think it's awesome.
yeah.
I think
I agree.
yeah, I completely agree. And Kevin mentioned the metaverse, and I think that, to me, they're growing in that direction, and I think almost it's like a huge opportunity for gaming to like actually explode, because you're going into the metaverse, like everything's going to be surrounded like virtual. It's a virtual reality.
Ready
That's
Player
kinda like-
One, baby.
I mean,
It's happening.
yeah, I mean, that's like what I mean, essentially, when we've been gaming since we.
I've got it right
What is
here.
that?
It's Ready Player One.
That's what
It's
I'm
like-
talking about.
We've been like going toward this for a long time. That's what we immerse ourselves in, or video games, and they've continued to grow and get better and better and better. And now you're going toward Oculus and actual like VR and everything. And Microsoft is shifting. Like, I'm sure they're going to shift somehow into that space with all of their game studios too.
I am very curious to see how this affects the direction of where Microsoft is going to go with the metaverse. There's a lot. Just even so, now backstory. I now own an Oculus Quest 2, which is a lot of fun, honestly. It just like the dumb shit that you can do with it. Some of the fun games, like Beat Saber and all that. But then there's like a game that I got. You're literally like a pilot in World War II shooting down other planes, which is fun. Kind of got me a little woozy a little bit, so I'm still getting used to that. So there's a lot there, but just the social aspects is huge, because you can essentially work in the metaverse. I've done it now. I was doing it with coworkers last week. You can put your desk in virtual reality and have your screen right in front of you while you're in a virtual meeting room with other people. And there's a chalkboard you can draw on. If you stand up, if I stand up, I turn around, the headset it recognizes me standing up and turning around, and I can draw right there, right behind me, and it's a chalkboard that everybody can see in the meeting room. And it's just like,
Honestly, I picture you be like, it's like the dumbest picture I've ever seen. Like your dumbass drawing on the wall.
dude, it's literally me just drawing in space. But what's crazy is that because the controller is not actually touching that wall. It is me putting that right like 2 inches in front of the wall, the virtual screen, and I flip the controller around and I put my pen cap up to the screen, and it gives me feedback on, like, I get haptic feedback on the controller that it feels like I'm touching a surface, and I can write with it.
That's so crazy.
It's nuts.
That's wild.
It's nuts. It's so cool. And just the things that this will open up, and Facebook is taking full advantage of this. Obviously they own Oculus. They're I would say the leaders in VR right now. I mean, they rebranded their entire company to Meta, which is, metaverse. Hello, Facebook, continuing to own everything, big brother.
Hmm.
But I mean, that's the direction of where all this is going. And what I'm actually really curious about is Unreal Engine is owned by Epic Games. And so I think that they may try to make a huge push in VR with Unreal Engine, because if you're not familiar with it, it's a game engine that anybody can build a game on, because it's essentially available for developers to use, and it is one of the best looking engines that you can put on an RPG game or in all that. And why not create a VR world with Unreal Engine? And I know companies are already doing it. I've seen it in game descriptions in the Oculus Quest store. So I think Epic Games could have a huge future with the metaverse.
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, it's like, why not just go ahead and do it? The technology is going to catch up eventually. I mean, use what you have at hand. If you have an Unreal Engine that can go and basically give you what you want to a degree of your idea, then why not get the jump start on it? And the technology will eventually catch up to be exactly what you want it to be. But why wait? People are looking for it. They're ready for it. They're ready to explore something new. And why wait? So that's awesome.
I wonder. I just got a Slack notification. I wonder if you can hear that in the podcast. And just
No,
cringy. Ugh.
I didn't hear it.
Don't know Slack
Did
right
not
now.
hear.
No.
But the whole Epic Games thing. Sorry, that just threw me off. I'm looking at a list right now of the other big gaming companies that could get acquired here. These are the ones that remain. This is Jeff Keighley, who, if you are not familiar with him, he's the creator of the Game Awards, so he's very tapped into the game network, or the gaming network and industry. So EA is one of them. They're valued at $38 billion. They have a market cap of $38 billion. Take-Two, Nexon, Bandai Namco, Embracer, Netmarble, Ubisoft, which I think is a big one. Their market cap $7 billion. I could imagine them getting swooped up, maybe by Sony? Question mark.
Assassin's Creed still is made by them, correct? Ubisoft.
Yep. Assassin's Creed. They've got there's a bunch of, you can go into the
They have a
Ubisoft
bunch.
store, and they've got more than I even realized before I went to their website, and I was like, oh yeah, you still have a lot. Konami, Square Enix, Capcom, and Sega is the list, and it ranges from Sega's the lowest at 3.6 billion market cap, and EA is the highest at 38 billion. I never really thought about EA getting acquired. I don't know if I really see that happening.
They've been independent for so long.
Yeah.
I don't know if I see it happening. I wouldn't be surprised with just the way these acquisitions are going. These massive companies getting bought for $70 billion.
Mhm.
So it's entirely possible. But I feel like if they were going to get acquired, it probably would have happened a while ago. But what did you said 37 billion?
38 billion is their market
38
cap.
billion.
Which, I mean, you think about it, it's half the price of Activision Blizzard, and you just go attack a completely separate sector of the gaming industry,
Yep.
and boom, right there, you're the owner of sports games, pretty much.
Yeah, I was about to say they dominate the sports platform. FIFA, Madden,
Yep.
NBA,
NHL.
NHL, man.
The sports, they've got some racing games, and then there's a couple other ones that are in there that
That's Forza.
Forza is Xbox now. It's on Game Pass. So yeah, there's
They did on Need for Speed at
that's what
at
it
the
was.
time.
That was the racing one. I
EA did.
loved that game.
Oh, Need for Speed Underground 2 is
Boom.
probably
That's it.
the best racing game of all time.
Yeah.
In terms of
Yes.
customization.
Many
I mean,
hours on that game.
I spent more hours designing in my car than probably driving it around.
That's so like
driving.
I always have loved racing games, and I would love to go back to a racing game. And Forza Horizon 5 is the newest one that's come out. There's actually one that, Matthew, we were talking to Jedi last week, and he brought up a new racing game that's coming out, and it kind of actually piqued my interest, where you like have to buy a house and expand your garage space for all the cars that you have. And I can't remember what it's called. It's on Steam. I'm going to have to look it up.
We'll
But
have to go in his Discord and look at all of his recommendations because he has a lot of them.
Jedi's knows gaming.
Yeah, he
I
does.
will say that. The man is very knowledgeable. I mean, we were just
He's
talking.
immersed.
We were talking about just like a couple game recommendations, and I think he named a dozen just off the top of his head. And I was like, and these were ones that are not yet released and they're coming out. And I'm like, dude, you are an asset. Let's
You're
talk.
plugged in.
I need to keep
Yeah,
you
you
around.
know what? Hey, I think we should have a Jedi's appreciation moment because I think we're still new. We've been at this for a little bit, and he's been along for the ride the whole time.
Yeah.
like been very loyal. Jedi's, shout out to you. We love you.
He's in our Discord. We love him. And if you're listening, you should join our Discord, and we will love you. And subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Twitter. Shameless plug.
And buy the merchandise too.
Yeah.
We have merch.
Do it all.
and,
Get in there.
All of it.
Don't be afraid.
Just invest. Just invest.
Invest.
Joystick to the moon. That's what we like to say. I've coined that as of today.
We're gonna get acquired by Microsoft.
Yeah. That's the goal. That is the goal. I love that.
We need your backing, Microsoft, please.
Yeah. Yeah, let's call it Phil Spencer. We'll get him on the show. And then on the show, we'll have him announce that he's actually acquiring us.
What's our price?
$1 billion. Why not?
Just $1 billion. We're not greedy, Matt.
That's
we're not
easy.
Go
no, we were not asking for 70 billion. Like
no.
You know what? We'll give him the Walgreens pricing, and we'll say 999 million.
Perfect.
It's easy. Easy. Never go above the 9s.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
In there like somewhere.
So one thing that I do really quickly want to circle back on, because this is just kind of mind-blowing to me. Matthew, you brought this up earlier about the CEO of Activision no longer being around after the acquisition actually happens.
Yeah.
If Microsoft and Xbox want to get rid of him, Bobby Kotick, he gets roughly a $250 million payout.
That's what I was wondering.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I've actually got this in front of me. You know what? I'm gonna pull this up here, and I've got this in front of me that Charlie Intel tweeted out earlier today, and here are the numbers, and this is just nuts. So the termination by Activision Blizzard without cause or termination by employee for good reason following a change of control nets him $292 million. Really.
Wow.
293 if we're rounding up.
Brilliant with this negotiation.
So much money. I mean, I'll take an acquisition for $293 million right there for the Joystick Chronicles.
Hey, Bobbers, just throw me about $100K real quick. Like, just that's all I'm asking for. It's a very small percentage.
Why not?
Hey, I can
Yeah.
do that.
If Activision didn't have the sexual harassment claims, I'd email him and say, "Hey, you want to be our CEO? You know gaming pretty well."
Yeah, if he wasn't a questionable character, then yeah, I'm all over it. Why not? Right?
I think he'll be on a beach somewhere sipping Mai Tais.
He's gonna do just fine.
Listen,
fine.
He's already said that he's going to be available upon request or available when he's needed. So that means he's going to be on a beach. His feet are going to be up. He's got to have Mai Tai or a pina colada or something in his hand. I don't know what the guy drinks. But he's going to be living life.
He's going to be fine.
100K to the Joystick Chronicles podcast is only 0.03% of that buyout. We're not asking for much.
It's pennies. It's pennies.
Pennies on the dollar.
Pennies. It's easy.
Please.
Gonna keep it cool.
Send him a LinkedIn message. See what I get back.
Hey,
yeah,
I could
why
send
not?
him. You know what? You know what we could do? We could send him $100,000 in coffee mugs if he wants. You know, we've got them.
Yeah. You know what? 100K. Buy our coffee mugs. We'll get a payout. Why not? You want a hat, sweatshirt, anything? Boom.
We can do it.
That can be his gift to all of his former employees as he says goodbye.
Yeah.
Here's a coffee mug from the Joystick
It can
Chronicles.
be arranged.
We can make it happen.
He might get escorted out of the building. He might not be saying goodbye. We'll see.
He might not.
Time will tell.
We don't know.
No, there's no way of knowing. But I mean, this is great discussion on all of this. Huge news today. I think there's definitely going to be more coming down the pipeline. We'll continue to talk about it as news stories arise. And Matt, is great to have you on the show. It's our actually first ever guest on the show. So we want to keep this train rolling. We want to keep having guests here. So if you're listening, go over to Twitter and let us know. Who do you want to hear from? Who do you want on the show? Let's have a conversation. I've got some ideas. Matt's got some ideas.
Hey, Bobby.
Hey, Bobby.
Bobby K.
Bobby
Come
K,
on
bring
down.
it the gabagool. So, like I said, top-notch guest, host, relationships. We're going to keep it rolling. But seriously, we're very happy to be back. We're excited about the direction here that we're going to take this. Matt and I, both new jobs, working remotely, little bit more time here. We're going to keep this train rolling. Keep it moving. We're excited.
Let us know. Give us feedback. We want to hear from you. If you guys have whatever it is, I mean, we're starting. We've been thinking of a lot of ideas on our own, guys too. So please reach out. Let us know.
Yeah, keep the feedback up. Let's get some interaction on Twitter. We've got a goal. We got to hit 100 followers here on Twitter. So we're at the Joystick Pod. Come on over. We're having some fun over there. We're getting some good engagement. Keep it fresh. Keep it light. And it's all positive. We don't like the negativity over there. So subscribe to the YouTube channel, like the video, and let's keep this train rolling. We're going to get our weekly show back on the road. Thank you with the Nick Merckx like the video, Matt. I appreciate that. I could hear it just by seeing it. So
Shout out, Nick.
shout out Nick. We'll get him on the podcast. Why not?
Nick, come on the podcast, man. Come on.
You've said that
I'll wear a
before.
Buccaneers jersey.
I
take off
have.
my
I
tight
think
hat.
I've said it almost every episode.
Yeah,
Actually.
it's a pipe dream for you. It's okay.
That's cool.
It'd be cool. It'd be great. So, all right, join the Discord. Link is below in the description. Like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, and let's keep this train rolling. We will see you guys in the next stream. Thank you, Matt, for joining us. And
Thanks for having me.